All right. Good evening and welcome to the City Council special session of Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. Two items on the agenda. First item is discussion regarding submission of a grant application for the opioid settlement grant program. Ta-da.
All right, thank you. So just a little background here. Recently, in the last couple of years, there have been several settlements with various participants in the opioid process from manufacturing to customer. And we have not been a party to any of those, but we do have the opportunity to benefit from some of the funds that were provided by those settlements. First, the state settled their litigation against 3 distributors, and as a non-litigating primary subdivision, will be eligible to receive funding from the $22 million in distributor settlement proceeds. In August of last year, you all acted to participate in that settlement, which was a prerequisite for funding, and that funding will be determined by the state abatement board. It hasn't been determined yet. The funds that we're going to talk about tonight are different from these, but because you all took action, I wanted to talk about that. We also saw the state settle litigation against manufacturers, distributors, and retailers. This one was a big one, $220 million, and it will be distributed based on distribution rules that will be developed by the Attorney General and approved by the abatement board. And in April, you all agreed to the terms of the settlement, which was a prerequisite for participation. What we were told at that time is that the previous settlement favored the litigating parties, and the AG wanted to make sure every community benefited from these funds, and so they anticipate we'll see more money from this settlement than we would from the other. And of course, it's much larger, so that also helps. In August, at the end of August, the Attorney General announced a funding opportunity from the Opioid Abatement Board for $23 million in grants, and they want letters of intent sent in by next Wednesday. The letters are pretty general. You don't have to have a program developed just yet, but we have to get official action from council to be able to submit those letters. They're anticipating a lot of applications because it's any public, political subdivision, public trust, county government, school district, things like that can apply. So they anticipate potentially 1,300 applicants, eligible applicants. Those applications will be due in late October. We don't have that application yet, and I actually talked to the AG's office today, and they were very helpful because they're still working through some issues with that grant application, and they anticipate it being released in October after a special meeting of the abatement board that will approve that application. They're estimating the award date to be in December or January upcoming. So as I said, only counties, municipalities, public school districts, career tech districts, and public trusts that benefit those entities are eligible to apply. Applicants must demonstrate a strong use of funds for abatement, the need for funds, capacity for implementation, evidence base for proposed projects, and then community partnership and support. Under the Act, I handed out the approved purposes because it was way too long to put on a slide. It sets out everything that this money can be used for. Generally, it's evidence-based, forward-looking strategies, programming and services related to treatment and prevention of opioid use and abuse. And you can see by the list of purposes, it's very broad, and it would potentially address a lot of different avenues where opioid abuse occurs. So like I said, the Attorney General's office will provide the application. The abatement board will review those applications and then allocate funds. Has to be for an approved purpose, and then your allocation is based on those 3 items from the state statute. So the number of people per capita in Norman suffering from an opioid use disorder, the number of opioid overdose deaths in Norman, and then this last one wouldn't really apply to us, but amount of attorney fees and allowable expenses associated with the litigation. That's really designed to get those cities and counties that litigated some of their money back. So we've heard from a program that's run by OU. It's really interesting, the Parent-Child Assistance Program, wanting us to potentially sponsor their application because it has to come from a political subdivision. It cannot come from a program like this. They focus on pregnant and parenting women with opioid and substance use disorders, and they provide 3 years of intensive case management and home visitation. I provided the website so you could check that out. It's based on an evidence-based strategy that I think originated out of Washington. And so they've been doing it here as well. We know other nonprofits in town have a lot of skills and a lot of programs that could really benefit from these funds also for opioid abatement. And so if we could submit those in partnership with others, we probably want to develop some kind of process to get those applications. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Just, I guess, maybe I'll talk about this, but a timeline. So the first thing that we need to do is just submit an LOI, basically.
Right.
And then this process will come behind it, the actual application
Right.
process. So we'll have an opportunity to put a call out for other entities that might want to go in on the application
Right.
with us. Okay, so there
Yeah.
will be like a timeline and a process that we can get that out.
Yeah, and so the grant application is due in late October, but they haven't developed the application yet. And so they're looking at, do those deadlines need to be moved? And I think we'll hear more from their special meeting they're trying to schedule. The other thing I want to point out is the rules for this program don't explicitly say that you can apply for more than one program. They also don't explicitly say you can't. They don't address whether you can partner with a nonprofit. They don't say whether you can or you can't. And that's something that they're looking at too. When I talked to the gentleman from the AG's office, he said, we recognize that's an issue, particularly in smaller towns. The towns aren't set up to provide these kind of services. And I said, well, we're the third largest city and we aren't set up to provide these services. So I get that. And so they're looking at that. And he anticipates that at their meeting in October, they'll develop some administrative rules that will address those issues. So I confirmed with him what I was hearing is we need to go ahead and do an LOI. It doesn't promise any particular program. It's just saying we're going to apply. And then as those rules come out, we'll keep an eye out for those and we'll be able to develop a grant submittal based on those rules. But we definitely wanted to get your feedback first because this will have to be on the agenda next Tuesday in order to get the letter of intent done.
Questions? Yes.
I just support, I think, I saw this come through our OML kind of news blast and then sent it to Catherine. I was like, is this the one that we were talking about? But it's a different one than the bigger one. And so I think we definitely should go after this. I think we have, several opportunities to partner with local nonprofits for the work that they're doing in kind of opioid crisis, not just that specifically, but, with addiction and mental health services. I specifically know that the Virtue Center is going to have to shut down their MAT lab with OSU because OSU is pulling out. And so that's like the, what's it called? Used to be methadone, but it's the Suboxone.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the Suboxone clinic that helps people kind of wean off and get off of opioids and other narcotics and things like that. So I know that there's an opportunity to continue a service that is much needed in our community with them. And then, obviously identified this one from the Oklahoma Parent Child Assistance Program. So I definitely think that we need to move forward to figure out whatever the process is going to be.
I agree. Councilmember Green?
Also supportive, just curious, have there been others that were interested in this particular pot of money in our community already doing this work?
Because there hasn't been publication of the opportunity, we haven't heard from anyone else. I was thankful Councilmember Schuler, sent me that email because I looked back in my email box and I didn't get the email from OML for some reason. So I don't know that it's been well publicized, but I anticipate if we're able to partner with an agency and we put something out there, there's a number of agencies that could address the epidemic.
And we also did receive a communication from a different OU professor interested in accessing some of those dollars, and they described their interest in data gathering, data collection related to opioid and the impacts of the opioid epidemic. And I don't know how big the territory is, but so two completely separate focuses in two different departments and I'm thinking I would see, local value in each one of those and there could be another dozen from our local nonprofits.
But as Catherine, you were saying that no rules have come out about what you can and can't partner on.
Right, they haven't developed the application or the rules related to this grant. And they're recognizing the need to allow partnerships, so I'm hopeful that will end up in the final rules. And then I'm hopeful we can also submit more than one application for all of these great programs.
So we could move forward with this process, but it could be open to others, because I do intend to meet with somebody from the State Department of Sexual Abuse and Harm Reduction to discuss the work that they're doing in our county.
I don't know that it will be open to others to apply on their own, but I think it will allow us to have sort of sub-grantees.
I'm kind of hoping for a data exchange, though, in partnerships, and also that curious, like, who's excluded from applying? Or can they still participate in the data gathering way, because they're also doing this work
Yeah.
and can supplement what we're already studying?
Yeah, and I think we'll get more information from those rules, hopefully, about who can partner with us and who can't. But I hope it's fairly open so we can address all of these. I mean, there's so many purposes we could address here, so it would be better for it to be pretty broad.
Councilman?
And that's what I was gonna say, one of the biggest things that we could use it for, it says right here 1O, is to fund law enforcement and emergency responder expenditures relating to that, training. We've all talked about how our police need more training when it comes to dealing with people going through opioid crisis, drug crisis. So I mean, that's a lot of money right there. They can use it for equipment, treatment, and response alternatives. So the 988, could we possibly, because I mean, Oklahoma, I don't know, but that's the big one. I think we get quite a bit of funds for that I really think we should hit hard personally.
There's definitely a lot of opportunities. And before we submit any applications, we'll have to come back to council and get some feedback on what you all want to apply
Also, I don't
for.
know if you know city manager, but does MPD get to carry Narcan?
They do carry Narcan. The fire department also carries Narcan. And they've used it on numerous occasions.
And we get reimbursed for it.
Yep.
I think it's free.
There is, I mean, when you think about it, this 23 million, I think it is the beginning, and I think there's gonna be millions and millions more coming out. And instead of saying there's 1.4 billion available to the state, they're gonna kind of let it out in little pieces, and they're building this airplane as we're heading down the runway together. But the ability to make sure our taxpayers are getting their fair share of all those settlement dollars. I would say statistically speaking, families impacted by the opioid crisis, probably fairly evenly distributed per capita all over the state. But there will be a lot of communities who just don't have partners, they don't have nonprofits, they don't have a university who can do a program with it. We were told in the first settlement that the city of Norman would receive like $98,000 a year for the next handful of years. And you think, what could we do with $98,000? And especially since we don't really know what we would do with it, but the opportunity to partner and add those dollars to other dollars and really get programs done that council's interested in, we think we can get the best bang for the buck.
Just the
Yeah, and
pipes.
it's paid out over 18 years, so not this grant program, but those other settlements we're participating in. So you'll get your year 1 and 2 payment at the same time, and then 18 years after that, you'll have payments annually. So, I mean, these are providing for long-term programs to address the epidemic.
So what's your pleasure? Is your pleasure to sit down and approve, let's go ahead and do what we're doing? Does anybody disagree?
It requires a formal action, so it will be on your agenda. Next week, you'll be shocked at how simple the letter is, because we really don't have to describe what you're funding just yet, which is great for us, because we don't know just yet. So that will be on your agenda next Tuesday.
Thank you, ma'am.
Easy peasy.
All right, item 2, consideration of adjourning into executive session as authorized by Oklahoma statutes Title 25, Section 307B4, to discuss pending litigation in the case of Kevin Hahn versus the city of Norman, Cleveland County District Court, case number CJ 2021210.
Second.
Motion and second. Thank you, ma'am.
That's 2 on there.
Oh, yeah, those are Purple Heart.
After, but
These little guys.
right.
Must still be open on your computer.